All right, welcome everyone. Today is another data community meeting, and we have Sarah Freymiller. I hope I pronounced that correctly here with us today to give us a little talk on Excel, which is one of my favorite things in the world. So I'm excited about that. I'll actually understand what's going on. And I am, just so everyone knows, I am a middle-aged white woman with brown hair that today is pulled back away from my face, and I wear glasses. So welcome. And Sarah, would you like to take over?
Awesome. Thank you, Shelley. You were very close. My name is Sarah Freymiller. My pronouns are they, them. Currently, my hair is shaved. But yeah, I'm excited to talk to you today about Excel. And I'm sure a lot of people have some great Excel experience. So I want to emphasize that as I go over things, there's definitely space for you to comment in the chat or speak up if you have things that you want to share with the group, because our collective Excel knowledge is enormous, I'm sure. So I have a quick little presentation, and then we'll jump into a lot of me sharing my screen and showing what I'm doing with Excel. And I've also given Shelley a workbook that can be shared with you all if you would like to do your own kind of work or see the notes that I took while I was getting this together. Oops, I don't think I can share.
You should be able to share now. And the link I just dropped in the chat is the file that Sarah was referring to. It is available in this Google Drive. And Sarah, you mentioned that there were, lost my brain, some macros in it. So just be aware if your organization doesn't allow you to download things like that.
Yeah, so there is one macro, and I might just show you what it is. You might not be able to use it, but we can definitely go over it. Today, we will talk about excelling with data and making a map. I wanted to provide context about where I'm coming from organizationally and data maturity wise. So I started working in this role with Legal Services of Eastern Missouri in June 2023, and I am the first full-time data specialist that the organization has had, which is exciting and can also feel slightly overwhelming at times when I'm thinking like, oh, where do we go from here? What can I do? I really do want to shout out data.org. They have a data maturity assessment that you can take. And based on what you get in different categories, they have different resources that they recommend for you. So I took this today. We are currently, at least this is from my perspective, we are in the kind of guided section of this spectrum. So we're not completely data led. We have some growth to do, but we're also not in the data curious section where we're just kind of starting to dip our toes. So I really wanted to focus on something that a lot of people in my org have access to, which is Excel. And there are many amazing tools that I want to shout out Nate Vogel for bringing up in his presentation on mapping, which included like QGIS, GIS, Looker. But for us right now, considering the kind of data maturity that we're at, I think Excel is a great place to start, both with sharing out general tips and then also showing how to map in Excel, because it's something that our funders can have access to if we share a file with a map in it. And it's something that our programs might be able to use if people are already pretty comfortable in Excel and want to just check out that next step. And then I also wanted to give some space at the end, when the recording cuts off, for people to share their own thoughts and what they like to use. All right, so these are just kind of the big picture items that I'll be going over in my Excel file. Some common keyboard shortcuts, why I love formatting things as tables. For copying pivot tables, it's really just that simple. I save a lot of time by copying my pivot tables and editing from there. Something that was mentioned at the last ITC that I was at was that you can use legal server links and Excel to kind of streamline your processes. And then I wanted to, again, give people a chance to share their own time savers in Excel. And someone brought up in the last mapping training, it can be a little hard to work with shapefiles. One of the benefits in Excel is that you do not need to import any shapefiles. It just has that large map already for you. And you are losing some of the capabilities that you might have in other tools. But if you're just getting started, this is actually a great way, I think, to practice and have some drag and drop capabilities within something you're already comfortable with. Woohoo! All right, so now we're jumping out of this presentation and we're jumping directly into Excel. Very slowly. Okay, there we are. All right, so I want to again shout out Nate Vogel's presentation because I used Claude AI to generate a little bit of test data, but I did kind of remake a lot of it for my own purposes. But if you're looking for a quick way to learn something in Excel, Claude AI has some great summaries for you, and it can walk you through an example. All right, so I wanted to just and I will also say, like, we use Legal Server at Legal Services of Eastern Missouri. So a lot of the conversation today will be kind of around data as it might be pulled from Legal Server and how you can manipulate that. But I think there are also some general tools that you'll see are useful in any kind of Excel workbook context. So this is just our little sample data set, very small. But I wanted to use it to show off. Actually, oh no, let me drag my view here. Or minimize it. There we go. Oh yeah, so I actually wanted to start off with our common Excel shortcuts. And I have this kind of test table to work on. If you're working with a large set of data and you want to just jump places quickly, Control H or Control Home takes you back to cell A1. If you click the down arrow, you go to the bottom, the right arrow all the way to the right. Control A to select all of that kind of chunk of data, and then Control A again to select the entire sheet. I don't know if this will work for this, but Control Page Down takes you to the next sheet, which for some reason jumped me to the bottom, so I might need to double check that. But Control Page Up takes you to the prior sheet. So I might need to, fix these. And then if you want to add the current date, you can use Control plus the semicolon. And current time, you can do Control Shift semicolon. And then if you want to autofill them, you can highlight both and then double click to drop down. Although, as I did that, I just realized it filled it out without it like added to each of them. So if anyone actually knows how to copy without the scroll, let me know. Oh, let me look at the autofill options. I'm gonna say copy cells. There we go. Done. And so that's if you want to add some metadata to your worksheet about like the date and time that you're accessing the data, you might be able to do that. And then, okay. Pressing the Alt key. I meant to practice this more. There we go. Oh, okay. So I don't know if you can see this on my screen here, but when I pressed the Alt key, it showed me all the letters that I can press to access different common hotkeys in Excel. And then if I click Escape 2 times, that goes away. Or actually just once. And then let me press the Alt key again. Doo -doo -doo. So I don't see any that have two. Oh yeah, so there's JT, for instance. So if I type JT, I would just type it in a row, immediately jump there, and then I can also do something like click E to insert a slicer. So yeah, while I know these tips, do I use them all the time? No. So it's something that I want to come back to and practice, but I wanted to give people a sample of what's out there to see like how much you can be kind of mouse free as you're working with Excel. And then if you want to look on other shortcuts, you can just mouse over the icon at hand. Actually, I'm not seeing that. Okay, so I think my instructions might need to be updated. So this one, I'm going to maybe ask the audience about. Does anyone know how to just mouse over to see a potential keyboard shortcut?
Sorry, I rely on Google. Like
Yes.
if I'm curious, I just go outside and search like how do I do this faster? And then it does it. So some of these are really new to me, so thanks for sharing it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they're, as you can see, like relatively new to me as well in terms of regular usage. Um, yeah, so Google's obviously the place we can always go, and I think you can also set your own shortcuts, which I would have to Google as well, but you should be able to say, when I press this combination of letters, I want to be able to do this in my sheet. Ooh, I'm seeing some chats in the chat. I'm gonna jump there. ChatGPT, shout out. Okay, great. Um, yeah, so also, what shortcuts do other people like? Are there any that you use regularly that you feel like just opened up your world when you started using them or when you discovered them? And the
I
stuff.
have one.
Yeah.
I sometimes my spreadsheets, like I do work with survey data a lot,
Hmm.
and sometimes my spreadsheets need to be tidied up and they're thousands of rows long. So if you like need to like sort your cells and then like you did, like you pulled down and copied, if you put like a period at the bottom of your last row and then control shift arrow up, then it selects that one. So like control shift, any arrow moves you around on the tables.
Ooh, I'm gonna try this. Okay. So let me reshare my screen and you can walk me through it, Susan. Which thank you. And I see another comment in the chat as well. Okay. Sharing screen. Okay, so I'm putting a period at the bottom of my last row.
Yeah, and delete like just pretend you didn't like delete all everything in that row except for the first
Oh, okay. Let me
like
add another row. Okay, because I want to save your comment there. Okay. So just this another row with nothing in it.
okay, and then click on like that's D13, like
Oh,
the
right.
last thing that you have.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yep.
And then if you hit control shift down,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then it highlights everything. So if you were all the way up in like A5 and all of those were blank in between, it would go all the way down to your period.
Ah,
And then you paste like you would have,
okay.
you know, like you paste
Mm-hmm.
control V.
Cool. Okay, so it allows you, so control shift down takes you to the bottom of the selected row and selects all that information. Cool. Up to the last completed.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
I
any
see
arrow,
the, okay. Oh,
like if
any
you were
arrow. Oh, that's
yeah,
so
like if you
cool.
were in the top left, like
Mhm.
A1, and then you want to highlight all of your column, because I do this a lot. I copy the
Mhm.
column headers and then I transpose the to make a pretty table. Like if I wanted to transpose those columns to be from horizontal to vertical,
Mhm.
then you like go A1, control shift, right arrow, and then
Mhm.
copy and then paste special transpose.
Mm. Oop. But if I said transpose, that's so cool. Nice. Love that. Oof. I'm sorry, I've got an itch in my throat, but I'm gonna look in the chat to see if there are other comments. Oh no. I'm sorry for the recording. Cool. Control shift up or down to highlight a column. Ooh, cheat sheet desk mats. Love this. Oh my gosh. This is so intense. I might lose my mind looking at this regularly, but actually, yeah, maybe I'll buy something like this to hang above my desk, so I had the option of looking at it. The wonderful world of hotkeys. Oh, and then 7 shortcut keys to get the bottom of your Excel spreadsheet fast. And Miss Excel's courses. Oh, I love all this. Yay. So Shelly, are we saving the chat for this as well? Because I think I want to consolidate these links for sure.
It is certainly reserved. I usually don't post it, but we can make it available.
Yeah, I think yeah, even if, I think what I might do is go back and edit my PowerPoint and include the links that people are sharing. So then if you share the PowerPoint, then we can have these resources as well. Well, thank you all. So back to our land of Excel. Another thing that I love to do and do every time I work with data, is format my data as a table. So in our sample data, I can just click on any kind of cell within this overall block of data, click format as a table, and then choose the style that I want. I do want to say that my table has headers, so it reserves those. And here we are, a lovely table. It just, in my opinion, looks nice. If you have more information, you can scroll and it's automatically like frozen at the top, this row of headers. And then you can also filter and sort like smallest to largest. Oh, you can sort by color? What? I never knew. And you can also add filters. So if you want to say, I'm looking for numbers greater than a certain amount, less than a certain amount, above or below the average, you can do all sorts of things like that. And then if you want to remove a filter, you can just go in and deselect. Oop. Actually, how do I? Ah! Oh my goodness. Clear filters, there we go. Yeah, so I love my tables and use them every day. And then if you add an additional column, oops, then it pops in, is formatted the same way. Let's see, I'm gonna insert a space there. And then it gives you that nice like autocomplete option as well, if you just double click. You can choose how you want it autocomplete. Something else you can do is click on a cell in the table. You can click on, I think it's a table, yeah, table, and then add a totals row. What this does is it gives you the totals for different things. I'm not sure, oh, let's see. Like for this, I don't think I would want to average my client IDs, but I could count the number of client IDs, and I could also look at more functions here, could do the minimum. Let's say for income, I want to do my average. So yeah, there are just some things you can do here. And then if you wanted to add a filter or deselect some data, the totals row will automatically update based on what is included. You may use pivot tables more for this, but this is another option when you have your table. Let's see what else in here. I also sometimes will use a slicer. So you can click again anywhere and then go to insert. Oh, nope. Oh no, I think I might have to go here. Where are my slicers? If anyone wants to jump in. I know that I actually wrote it down for myself, but then forgot. Table design, insert, slicer. There we go. There we are. So let's say I want to be able to just sort by program or multiple programs. This is something that's, I think, a little more user-friendly than maybe having a filter on a pivot table. So if you want to send this as kind of a dashboard to your program, then they can select what they want. And again, if you have a totals row here, then the slicer will update the totals as well. and select all of them. Oops. And I think, let's see, if I say shift and click, then I select all. So you can play around with your slicers, or you can clear filters once you have them on. So that's our slicer. And then I wanted to show something that I have really appreciated since learning about it at ITC last year, which is using functions or using legal server links to kind of streamline how I can edit things quickly. So the example that was given was like if you wanted to edit multiple assignments, like if someone left the program and someone new was hired and you want to assign all of those cases to the new person. We can go to our sample data. So we have here the legal server link to a test case with the form that we want. So this is like our primary assignment transfer form where I could click to transfer the case. So what I did was I copied the link up here. And you'll notice that we have this 6-digit ID, which is the last 6 digits of the case number. So I'm gonna add a row here, which is gonna be the concatenated, or I'm just gonna say hyperlinks. Woo. And what I'll need to do as well is strip the last 6 digits from the case ID. So I'm gonna say shortened ID. And I'll use the write function. I'm gonna use write and trim. So write, trim, I'm gonna select the cell that I'm doing it to and how many characters we want. So we want 6 characters, and that's all the parentheses I need. And then you can see that autofill trimmed all of those for me, which is so nice. And then let me just move my slicer here. And then now I want to get the legal server link. So I'm actually going to copy what I want from this link here. No. Okay. So I'm going to basically copy everything up until that ID. Whoop. And if I wanted to, I could also add like the return to profile part. But for the purposes here, I think I just want to edit that assignment directly, and I'm not worried as much about what happens after I edit it. So I'm going to say equals hyperlink. I'm going to put the link in parentheses, and I'm going to use the ampersand and add the shortened case ID. All right, so now that creates a link for each page that will get me to the unique edit assignment for each of these cases. And then I was also thinking, what if I just don't want to click as much in Legal Server or in my Excel spreadsheet? And so I Googled some VBA code that allows you to open multiple hyperlinks at once. So this is why I had to save my file as macro enabled. So what I did was I went to the link, which is here. I copied this code from the internet, as one does. And then I right-clicked on the sample data tab. I clicked on view code, and then so initially I pasted it in here, and then I saved it, and then I exited out of it, and now I'm hoping it should work where if I select, I'm going to use Susan's tip, Control Shift down. I'm selecting this, I'm going back to sample data, right-clicking it, and then view code again. I think you can click F5 to run the code, or function F5. No! Oh, it's because I disabled the macros. Let's see. Let me go back and see if I can enable. Does anyone remember offhand quickly how to enable macros?
My next question was, I don't understand macros. So I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna be able to help you. This is new to
Yeah.
me.
I mean, macros are kind of like how you can just like code that lives in the workbook that does work for you. So you can save different like actions in macros, and then you can run those macros on different parts of your workbook as you want to. So instead of having to go through and like, click more or edit more, you can, I think, use macros to kind of automate more of your work. That is my understanding of macros. I honestly don't use them much at all. I've tried to record some of them for kind of common formatting things that my programs might need, but it's an area of learning for me for sure. Let's see. How to enable macros in Excel. Oh, okay. So you get a file and look at all this AI. Oh my. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to file. Let me just save my progress so far. So I'm going to file, go to my options. I don't even see options. Trust center. Oh, did I? It wants me to save it. This might be searching files. Okay. Options. There we go. Go to trust center. Trust center settings. Oop. Go to macro settings and click enable VBA macros. I know this is potentially dangerous code, but I'm taking the risk because I put it in myself. Okay, so I think that should work. And then, oop, I'm going to just save again. I guess it is auto saving. Okay, so from here, I'm going to, again, right click, go to view code, manually run the code. I guess I could click this little button. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, it's currently disabled, but I did get this to work earlier and it was nice and it pulled up tabs for each of my hyperlinks. So I would say definitely try this if you're interested, and it may save you a lot of time. And that was a lot of talking on my part, and I'm seeing things in the chat, so I'm going to stop sharing for a second and go back to the chat. Ooh, some other awesome chats. Okay. People are shouting out the search bar at the top for real. And people are asking about learning VBA, Visual Basic. So Susan had some tips on checking out DataCamp for Python and SQL. DataCamp is great. Melissa shared some YouTube links and a book. Ooh! So it sounds like we've got some people who are some VBA learners and specialists. So maybe that could be a future conversation. But yeah, so that was my tip on kind of streamlining if I need to make multiple edits at a time on certain things in Legal Server. Are there any other comments on that or any other questions? I do want to say thanks for your support in the chat. Oh, I heard an unmute.
That was me. I was just checking to see, are you done with that part of your presentation? Are we ready to turn off recording, or do you have a little more you're
There's
going to share?
there's still a little mapping section. Yeah, I
Awesome.
just wanted to pause for some questions.
Guess I
All
did
right.
forget that part.
Yes, don't we all? All right, let me reshare. And it's one of the joys of a recording of me is you get a little bit of soundtrack in the background. Okay, so mapping. Oh, I think with pivot tables, the only thing I wanted to share here was that when you make a pivot table, you can go to insert, pivot table, I like to do a new worksheet, add it to the data model. Oop, I usually just have an analysis tab. Oop. And then as I make my table, let's see, I'll just have a distinct count of my case IDs. And then if I want to create a very similar table, for instance, with zip codes instead of programs, I can just shift and click to select the entire table, Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and then edit my new table. So that saved me a lot of time and I'm happy I do it. But that was my really only thing to show about pivot tables, which I love. And then back to mapping. Okay, so we've got our data in a table. And if we want to create a map, we can open 3D maps, or we can select a 3D map. Oh, it looks like I've already created a tour. So let's delete the tour. I do want to delete it, I'm sorry. I'll make a new tour. So as I said, you don't need shape files in Excel, but the only downside is it takes you to like the maximum possible view. So you do have to zoom in on the place that you want to be. And 3D maps are also, oh, I guess I can make it a flat map. Nice. I never knew. So I want to use zip code as the location. So I just dragged it there. It brought us out to St. Louis. I'm going to zoom in a bit. I wonder if there's like an automatic. So even though it's a flat map, it wants to, I think what it does is it like adds to the height of each, although it doesn't have anything that you would add to the height yet. It doesn't know what field it's measuring on. So I've started using regions, so you can see the different zip codes here. If you mouse over them, you can see what they are. If I want to count the number of case IDs in each one, I can drag that to the value. As you can see, it automatically gives you a scale of like lower to higher. I think you can edit that in layer options. I don't want to show zeros, customize. Oh, and then I clicked on data card customize, and this is where you can edit things as well. So if I want to add a field, I could say, let's add income, and I want to show, probably some is not as helpful when I'm looking at geographic data. So I want to see the average income for each zip code for the cases that we worked on. So now when I mouse over, and you can kind of drag the layer around, or you can make it smaller. If you mouse over the zip code, you can see the number of cases and the average income. And then I want to actually make this look a little less lengthy. So I'm going to say number of cases here. So that's a little bit more user-friendly. And yeah, you can do a number of different things with this, but I just wanted to kind of show you the basics of the map, because this is kind of where I'm at right now, which is like building out simple things, having data together on a card, and being able to share that with our programs and potentially with our funders if we want to say like, hey, like, you know, in a region that is pretty segregated geographically, here's where a lot of our cases are coming from, like here's where we're doing our outreach. So if this were, for example, an outreach map, we could map the different locations of our outreaches to see kind of where we're hitting more of our client base. All right. But yeah, it's not everything, but it is available in Excel. So here we are. And then if let's see, I think it's automatically saved. So if I exit out, which always gives me a little bit of anxiety when I'm like, just like, goodbye. I think now it should, if I search 3D maps, show it as a tour. And I can edit this tour. locations of cases. So I can give it a name if I want my viewers to more easily distinguish between views. I will say one of the downsides is that, oh, well, I haven't, played around with this as much, but I haven't yet kind of created two maps side by side. So that would be something to explore and probably Google to see if I could have some like comparison maps. But again, you can add different layers. So I'm sure you could kind of pull data from a different table, for instance, in order to like show income on one side, show, any other fields that you want and have layers in that way. So that is maps in Excel. Any questions on that or any comments? Do people use maps in Excel? Am I the only one? That's one of my questions.
I didn't know that it was available in Excel, and that's actually one of my follow-up questions is, how do you just share the whole file? Or
Mhm.
or the tour, like your people that you're helping understand their data, do they know what to do once they get the file?
Yeah, so I don't know why I didn't show in this workbook. Let me actually go and see if it's in there somewhere. Um, Usually it has this little kind of pop-up that says maps are enabled in this workbook. You can access them by going here. So like that's something that automatically shows. I think it didn't show in this workbook because I deleted the original. And oh yeah, and Evan said you can also go to insert and maps. But my use case for this is that we have like a funder who we share analysis with via Excel. So I will share like de-identified data in aggregate via Excel. And I can also like send them this map because they do request like the numbers of the cases, like where they're located, and other things. And so the people that are working on this grant wanted to include a map of like where they're serving clients. And so that's how we came up with this in Excel and sent it to the funder. But yeah, I would be, careful when sharing data not to include any like personal identifying information, or if they did request that, making sure you have a secure way of sharing that. Another thing that I've used this for is that we have another funder who requested a list of our top 10 zip codes that we've served, but the zip codes had to all total 100%, which is kind of like not, it doesn't make sense numerically, but it was something we had to do. And so I created a map that initially showed me, let me go back to the sample and share my screen. And I think in my Excel file, I said like, well, this isn't mathematically correct, but I used bubbles as the visualization. I don't know why it's not updating here. Oh, it's layer 2, that's why. Okay, layer 1, we've now made it bubbles. And let me go to our options and I'm gonna make this size of the bubble a little smaller. And so I could kind of see which of my biggest bubbles were. And also there were some like tiny little dots all around them. And so I basically categorized each bubble and I kind of treated the biggest ones as like the stars of their constellation, like the stars of their solar systems, where it was like, these are the main ones. And so I kind of grouped smaller bubbles with the bigger bubbles to say like they all add up to 100%. So this is kind of the representative zip code of its general area. Even though yeah, this math doesn't quite math, but you can kind of group things together in an easier visual way by having it laid out in the first place. All right, that's my main demo. So I think we can stop the recording now and we can chit and chat.